Welcome to the second part of the animation cancelling guide. In the first part I explained animation cancelling after an action has already happened, like in auto attack, summoning a water elemental, or building undead buildings. Now what you can do with animation cancelling as well is, you can cancel the animation before the action actually happens. So usually, if you cast a Holy Light on your MK, in this case, it will look like this. The paladin raises his hammer, casts a Holy Light, and that's it. Now what you want to do is, though, you want to start casting the Holy Light, and before it actually goes through, you press the stop key, for me it is S, to cancel the cast and not let the Holy Light go through. So what it does is, it looks like you will cast Holy Light, but you actually won't. So for your Holy Light, if you want to heal your own units, that's probably not too useful. So let's take another example. Oftentimes, when you especially play against Night Elf and you want to kill some wisps with your Death Knight in this example, you want to finish them off with a coil oftentimes. And what that does is, if that wisp is so far away, what your opponent can do is, while the coil is on its way to the wisp while it's flying, he can detonate the wisp. And that causes that the wisp dies without getting hit by your coil, but the coil was already on its way. So you have already spent the 75 mana, but the wisp will just detonate and you won't get the experience. Now to work around that, what you can do is you can cancel the animation before the coil actually starts flying. Now what it does is, your coil won't fly, and then the opponent can just not detonate, and the wisp will survive. But what usually happens is, most people that try to dodge spells like, well, projectile spells in this case, like the Death Coil, the Thunderbolt, or a Shadow Strike from the Warden, for example, any spell that is a projectile, you can see it coming, and while it is flying towards your unit, you can, for example, detonate your wisp, or on a hero, pull the Town Portal or an Invul Pod, because oftentimes it's a scenario that a hero is low HP, and he would die to the spell, and instead of just dying to the spell, you still want your opponent to use the spell, but you will just dodge it with the Invul Pod or the TP or the Detonate. So in order for that not to happen, you can use the animation cancelling before the coil actually goes through, and then your opponent will see, in the example of the DK here, you already start lifting your sword, but you won't actually throw the coil. But what a lot of people do is they will just watch out for the animation starting, and they will see, oh hey, he's raising his sword, he's gonna coil me, I need to Invul Pod now. And they will do it. But you're actually not going to coil, so you're basically mind gaming your opponent. And that can help you in forcing a detonate or an Invul Pod or a TP without actually using that spell, so you save the mana. So you can just do this like we did with the Holy Light earlier. You start casting the spell, but then you press the stop button right before the coil actually starts flying. Now it's a really small timing and it takes some practice, but you will get it after some time. Now you can also do the same with the Lich, for example. That's not a projectile spell, but it still has a casting animation before the Frost Nova actually goes off. So it would look like this. You can already see the Lich starting to cast a spell, but he actually won't. With the Lich, of course, it's a bit less useful because your opponent has less reaction time against the Frost Nova, because there's no projectile that needs to fly to his hero, but instead the Frost Nova would hit instantly, so most people will use their Detonator, TP, or Invul Pod before you even start casting the Nova. You can even do the same with the TC, with the Shockwave. Now, there again, it's the same story as with a projectile, but what you can do with that animation cancelling before the Shockwave happens as well, is you can't only try to force a Detonate or an Invul Pod from your opponent, but also if you do a Shockwave, and let's say you want to hit that Wisp, but you accidentally click it underneath the Wisp, then you can still cancel it if you only, after starting the cast, when you realize, oh, that Shockwave isn't gonna hit as I want it to, then you can just stop the cast and instead redirect the Shockwave to the Wisp. So you can also correct small mistakes that you yourself do, if you realize that in time, of course. So to conclude, this is definitely useful if you want to try to force a detonate, invul pot, or taunt portal from your opponent without actually spending the mana for, let's say, your coil. And that can oftentimes, especially looking at pro play for example, that can be a big deal if you have another coil ready to you, because you didn't have to use it, but you still got what you wanted, and it was, let's say, the Wisp Detonate. Anyway, I hope this helped, and have a nice day.